Maximum news. Sorry that I wasn't here last week. It was just a huge cluster of a whole bunch of crap just happening at once that I couldn't handle. Primarily, my computer wasn't allowing me to edit stuff for my main channel, so thankfully, Syb and Ash were kind enough to help out in that regard and take over the show. But I'm back. And there's a lot of stuff that we got to talk about. Namely, the one thing that we got to start with obviously the most popular thing here is the release of the new Super Mario Brothers movie trailer. And yeah, we will be talking about Chris Pratt's voice, obviously. But first, I just figured, because it's such a popular topic, that we would just give our quick reaction to it. Syb, did you happen to see the trailer? Aside from... We'll get to the voice stuff in a second, but just give your overall impressions of the trailer itself.
So yeah, I remember, I'm old enough to remember going to see the Super Mario Brothers movie and feeling so confused and having no idea what I was seeing and didn't understand what was going on. I didn't it's like, hey, this thing that you really like? Well, we're going to go see a movie of it. Somebody made a movie of it. And I'm like, wow, somebody made a movie of it. I'm so excited. And then I arrive, and then it's like arriving and watching somebody like butcher like a pig, like really poorly, like really badly. They're like the pig is freaking out. It's a bloody, gruesome thing. And you're like, what is going on? Why am I here? What is happening? I don't understand anything. And as a child, it's extremely traumatizing. It was, and I stick by that. Watching the original Mario movie as a kid was equivalent to watching a fluffy, cute animal being butchered in front of me. Yeah. I couldn't understand why anybody would do this. Like, I'm like, why is this a thing? Why is this happening? Who hated this thing so much that they dragged this through the mud? So yeah, terrible.
Yeah. Adults made this? And I'm supposed to respect adults? Really?
Yeah, exactly. But having seen the new trailer, I have to say, looks really good. Legitimately looks really good. Looks like something that they should have made 5-10 years ago.
Sure.
Now, I do not care about the actor's name behind the animated, whenever they do an animated series. I pretty much despise that kind of mentality of oh, hey, look, we've got this dude doing this voice, and it's I don't care, because it's not actually it's not something that is of interest to me. I don't respect the Hollywood trying to bring in a big name and trying to get me to go see that off of that. Okay. What I want the Mario Brothers or any animated character to sound like is to sound like they should sound like. That to me is the most important thing that you could possibly do. There's no sidestep. There's no different thing that I want other than that. I just want that. I don't want anything else. And I can say happily, absolutely happily, that they appear to have done it. Now, that's saying that Chris Pratt had the ability, the range, and the is approaching it from the direction that I want him to, and that I think is totally fine. I'm happy with that. I'm stoked that he sounds that good. Luigi sounds maybe a little bit off. Bowser sounds great.
Yeah.
And again, these characters are they're doing what they're doing, and that sounds great, and that's good. I would prefer, honestly, I think it would have been better to get somebody who's a little bit younger, who can really nail the voice, and then just have that person be the voice of Mario for the next 20, 30 years. That's what I would technically prefer. That I think that's a little bit of a bet, but that is, at this point, that is nitpicking, because everything in the trailer looks and sounds amazing. I'm not going to go see it opening day because I have no reason to. I am going to wait and hope that they don't, that they haven't screwed it up in some other way. But I don't see any reason to be like, oh my God, this is terrible. So we got Jack Black as Bowser. We've got
Charlie Day as Luigi, Chris Pratt as Mario, Anya
and I'm
Taylor-Joy.
trying to remember what was Charlie in last time. Can you remember? Because I don't want to click the thing.
Yeah, him and Chris Pratt were in the Lego Movie. Both of them were really, really good in that movie. He played.
Who was he in the Lego Movie?
Well, Chris Pratt played the lead guy.
No. Charlie.
He played the spaceship guy, the one with the broken blue spaceship helmet, and he's always going on about spaceships.
Oh,
remember that? Oh, okay. Yeah.
I vaguely remember that.
Yeah, they were all really good in that. Yeah, we still have to hear Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong and Anya Taylor-Joy as Princess Peach. I'm sure they'll do fine.
I hope so. I really do, because I hate missing out or having this thing that you like being like run through the mud. And I don't think that we're at this point now with this, but it's still, it's still disconcerting, right? With what had happened before, and the fact that. And again, it's like this is the thing that's driven me nuts the most about Nintendo, is that they don't seem to care or have any desire to really jump into the media, which we've been wanting for so long. We've been wanting them to do. As a side note, a very minor story, Steam accidentally showed that they had an emulator on their built-in emulator on their Steam kits to run all kinds of games from the Switch.
Oh yeah, they do have that.
Big boo-boo, should not have done that. Should not have showed that off. Oh dear, that kind of thing. And it's really, one way it's kind of funny, because it's like everybody knows that that's what we've wanted from them for the longest time, and they just refuse,
right?
Flat out refusal to like do anything about it. Just a flat out complete refusal. Going, no, I don't want you to I don't want you to do this thing. And then who's Peach here? I don't want to.
Anya Taylor-Joy.
And
she was
familiar.
The lead in The Witch. She was the lead in the Split movie. The M. Night Shyamalan movie. What else has she done? She was recently in The Northman.
Yeah. Okay.
Queen's Gambit.
Yeah. Let's hope she. I see no reason why she would be necessarily bad at that. But the thing that I dislike is I don't like, because I'm so sound sensitive. It really bothers me when I go to see one movie and then I go to see the next movie and the voices are changed. It's like that genuinely bugs me. Like I genuinely have conniptions about that. But
okay, well, I'm glad that you got a positive reaction out of it, because generally speaking, I did as well. I have to agree with you. I think all the animation looks fantastic. I was a little bit miffed just by the way that Mario's face kind of looks like a cross, like they're trying to make it look somewhat realistic. But it's not. You know what I'm trying to say? It looks just so very different from the Mario that we're used to.
Are you sure? Because I mean, I thought it was just a little bit of a stylistic choice to really amp up the what do you call that? The texture rate.
Yeah,
the polygon count. Basically,
yes. No, you're absolutely right. Yeah,
because it's the same kind of problem you have with Sonic. It's like Sonic looks great as like a 2D character, but like how do you the more polygons you give them, you find out that there's more of the things that you didn't anticipate necessarily.
Right.
That a full motion like character like that would actually like require or need or would be good in having, right?
Right. But
that's the kind of thing.
I didn't finish what I was going to say, though.
Oh, sorry,
I eventually got to the point where it's like, you know what? It's fine. It actually, I'm at the point where I think it actually looks good. But I'm just saying, at first, it just looks so, like you said, textured and so many polygons that I was a little bit minor shock-inducing at first. Now, I'm sure that it'll be good. I think what we're going to be getting out of this movie is going to be something akin to like what we got with Sonic. It's going to be very kid friendly. The quality of it is going to be, dependent on that, kind of like what it was with Sonic, where it's fine, but it's not standard setting, but you don't regret having seen it. That's sort of what I'm expecting with the Super Mario Brothers movie, and I'll be happy if we just get a good version of that.
Yeah.
And just one last thing. Obviously, I gotta give my opinion on the voice thing. Jack Black is fine. Luigi, I'm sure. I think Charlie Day will be fine with it, but Chris Pratt, I think I'm not as peeved at it because there's something very subtle in the movie trailer that a lot of people seem to be ignoring. The first line that we hear Mario say is, "Where am I?" And when he said that, he pops out of the green tube. It sort of implies to me kind of like maybe the Mario that is inhabiting that body isn't actually Mario. It's somebody from out in the real world that's coming into the game. And that's why it's Chris Pratt's voice. I could be completely wrong with that. That's just my personal theory. And I'm kind of hoping that that theory is correct because I don't know how willing I will be to hear Chris Pratt's voice come through Mario's mouth when we're so used to hearing, what's his name, Charles Martinet, the guy who's always done the voice of Mario and all the other Mario characters, not come through there. We'll see. It's just one or two lines. Everything else looks fantastic. I choose to remain optimistic about it. So, ladies and gentlemen, to the people who are listening to the show right now, did you have a chance to watch the trailer? Do you have any opinion on my theory, or do you have anything that you disagree with that me or Syb said in regards to our other positive praises of the trailer? Please let us know in the comment section below. Very looking forward to seeing how this movie turns out. All right, that was the biggest news. But there was another piece of really big news that, for whatever reason, Syb, it's sort of like we were picking stories through Discord for us to talk about, and this completely just fell out of my mind, even though it's really huge news. And I suppose it's just because I really haven't played The Witcher or Cyberpunk as much as I would like to, but you have. So I'm going to hand this over to you. Tell people sort of what CD Projekt Red has announced in regards to both of these franchises and other stuff moving forward.
Yeah, so I have a big video on this. Should be coming out sometime holiday weekend here. Holiday because of us. I totally forgot to mention that. It's Canadian Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's when the early Canadian pilgrims joined up with the Native Americans and managed to fend off the giant whale attack. Anyways, there's so they have done a number of things, and those number of things that they have done have indicated that they have improved themselves. I'm talking about CDPR, obviously.
Yeah.
One of their leaders has stepped down, who some would say was more responsible for some of their bad decisions. He was definitely the guy behind the push into China, the push into wanting to create a hyperized market for China. Now, at this current status, that was a poor decision. Not one that you might necessarily have seen coming, but some of the other decisions that they made was definitely their overwork of the devs, the super crunch, the constantly going back and redoing things over and over and over again to a point that it became almost nauseous for anybody who was tracking that. They would redevelop something, and sometimes what they were redeveloping was essentially a thing that they had already perfected. It was a thing that they had already done, and they were essentially reinventing the wheel based off of gameplay that they played from another game a couple days ago before. And then they would come in next month, do the exact same thing Over and over and over and over again, this happened. And this drove a lot of developers nuts. There's a lot of fairly public reviews on this. There's a lot of negativity surrounding this. They weren't happy with this constant rigmarole of insanity, this constant like, hey, we're going to do this, and then hey, we're going to do this again, and then hey, we're going to redefine this again, all the time talking about the same thing. And for some developers, this is literally one of the most painful things that you can do to a developer, is take their work that they spent the last 3 months working on and then throw it aside because you have this, like, it's not even a good idea. It's just an idea that you saw from somewhere sometime doing something else. And it's so vacuous and like, why are you doing this? That is not very helpful, obviously. So that's the problems that they had, and this is what we're seeing at the moment. Seems to indicate that they have learned some lessons from that and are not planning on doing it again. They've stated publicly that they made a lot of mistakes and that they did come out with an apology thing here just recently again. Is it enough for me to get hyped about the future games? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I will not hype up their next game until I physically have it in my hand, able to play it. Because as big as we were in pushing that game, they never once got us to play it in advance. I had seen some stuff from way before, and I gotta say, what they had been working on when they initially announced the game, which they completely dumped and went completely in a completely new direction with, I would have preferred that 1,000 times more than what they ultimately came up with. And it's just kind of, I hate to say it, but gross.
Sure.
A little on the gross side that they had this great thing, that they were working in this great direction, and then they decided, hey, let's just throw all this stuff away for this generalized concept that wasn't proven, that wasn't, quantified into something that was useful or good or clean or anything like that. And it was so very, very, very disappointing. And I hope that they have actually truly learned their lesson.
Mm-hmm.
But because we don't know whether or not they have, we don't know whether or not we can. So until I see their next game, and speaking of that, what is their next game? Well, they've announced a new trilogy for The Witcher.
Yeah.
They have announced a new standalone for The Witcher that should be coming out before the trilogy. The trilogy is planned to come out in 2-year successions. So one right after the other. Then they're also planning on they're already starting to work on a new Cyberpunk game as well.
Which will be out in 2032.
All of these games have been designed and are designed to drop at the beginning, to drop on or be crafted with. Oh my goodness, my English. All of these games are being crafted with Unreal 5.
Good.
And they are all having specialized tools designed for them by the Unreal guys to help perfect and really like bring their creative process to the best point that they can.
Yes.
That is probably the most fascinating thing that I have to mention about this, because this is a groundbreaking concept that is very, very, very good to have, because they haven't had the ability to specialize their engine the way that they should have right from the get-go. This is a great idea. This is a great thing that they can do. They can approach a big company, say, hi, we would like to, officially do this, officially this one way. This is what we want to do. We're really set on this, and then just go and do it. And that makes the most amount of sense possible. And I've got to say that I am happy that they're going this route, whether or not it's actually going to take off properly and actually be, coherent. Again, we have to see yet, and we don't know, and we will know we will know at some point in the future. So that's what's up. That is what has transpired. That is what has really shown itself off. I go into it a lot more in depth on this new video, so please check it out on the main channel, Triple S League, and we will see what happens, going forward, and what we can be expected to see and expected to get our hands on, and expected to see if what they're promising is actually going to work.
Right.
Yeah.
They are definitely taking the right steps to make it seem like that when these games eventually come out, that is what we will be getting. The main thing that Cyberpunk 2077 had working against it is the number of bugs that came as a consequence of using what I believe is called the Red Engine. Switching to Unreal Engine 5, which is a whole lot more user-friendly for anybody that uses it, will not only enable them to be able to make consistent games that come out in, like you said, 2-year intervals, but will also, in my opinion, I think make the games look even better and function even better. Like, despite the fact that at times, preferably when you're just standing still, Cyberpunk 2077 can look gorgeous. Same with Witcher 3. Mm-hmm. Unreal Engine 5 is taking things to a whole nother level, so I'm very happy about that. Plus, yep, go ahead.
They never really got that level of polish that they were promising.
Yeah, no, they didn't. Plus, the concepts of the games that they're announcing, on the surface, they're interesting. I'd be curious to see if they can sort of pull with Cyberpunk 2077 2, whatever that is, 2078, whatever. When that comes out, maybe they can pull like what Assassin's Creed did, going from 1 to 2, where the first one was okay, lots of problems, to a cultural phenomenon. More Witcher games is always good. Plus, they have a new IP that they're working on that they obviously didn't go into a great deal with. Yeah. And then there's a Witcher multiplayer game?
All of these future games, they have promised to have all of them be multiplayer. That is their firm
all of them.
goal. Yeah, all of them are planned to be multiplayer, or at least that's what they kind of hinted at. I don't know if the Trilogy will, or if the other one will. I kind of don't think necessarily that the Trilogy will be multiplayer, or whether it'll just have some generalized multiplayer conductivity in it in some way, shape, or form, somehow. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd be fine with that, just as long as the single player element is maintained and protected, and it's not like an Ubisoft game, God forbid. All right, let's move on from that. Obviously, everything with that is years away, but we'll update you as more news comes out. Moving on to Overwatch. Overwatch 2 came out on Tuesday. Officially came out. People weren't really able to play it right when it came out because so many people were coming into the servers. Plus, Blizzard was suffering DDoS attacks, allegedly, that was making it difficult for people to get through the queue and start playing the game. Up until recently, I wouldn't have cared because I didn't play Overwatch for the majority of the time that the first game was out. I only started playing it recently when my girlfriend got me into it. And it was good enough. I had enough fun with it that I wanted to check out Overwatch 2. But I figured I would tell you guys sort of about some of the experiences that I had. First day getting into it, couldn't get in at all. Like, it would say, like, oh, you're 40,000. You're in, like, out of all the people that are getting in, you're like the 40,000th person in queue to get in. And then you wait for half an hour until you get to the front of the line. And then it'd just say that you're disconnected from the server. So I had to wait until the next day. Then, same thing would happen until later at night when eventually I did get in, but then I would play a game or two and then it would kick me out. Mm-hmm. And in regards to my girlfriend, she's such a huge fan of Overwatch that despite my protests, she decided to pay for entrance to the beta. And what that got her as a reward is being able to get free access to the first battle pass. Well, for her, when she got into the game, she wasn't able to access it. It was as if she had never bought it. Now, I don't know if she's gotten access to it since then. I haven't really been able to talk to her, regrettably. But these are just some of the things that you would think that a company like Blizzard at this point in their career, plus with the type of funding and support that they're going to be getting from Microsoft, that they would be able to spend the money that would enable them to withstand DDoS attacks and a number of people that are going to want to come in and play this game. But they didn't, and it was terribly frustrating, and I thought I would just share some of those frustrations with you. But what about the game itself? I can't really speak as authoritatively on this because, like I just said, I haven't played Overwatch for... I think I've only started playing Overwatch like 3 or 4 months ago. The first one. And I just got into the second one. So I can only speak as somebody who's very, very new to it. It's fine. It's basically Overwatch 1 with some quality of life improvements. I do like the way that the guns function and sound and handle better in Overwatch 2. But they're not like drastic improvements where it's like night and day. Like I couldn't go back and forth between Overwatch 1 and 2 if I could. Even though I can't right now because Overwatch 1 is no longer playable. F you, Blizzard. What else? Yeah, the graphics are virtually the same. Maps are virtually the same except for 1 or 2 new additions. I will say that I actually... This is completely subjective to me. I know people will completely disagree with me, and I have no arguments against them. I appreciate the fact that instead of 6-player teams, that there are 5 now. This is just because I, as a person who plays shooter games, I find that I'm able to elevate my team when I'm doing stuff more on my own. So I'm a Soldier 76 main, I do a lot of DPS, and I find that just by doing my own thing, people are able to inadvertently latch onto that, and the team does well. But Overwatch is more of a team game, and I understand that a lot of people don't like the idea of taking out an extra person and making it more about what individual people do. But for me, I like it. But aside from that, there's nothing particularly special about it, in my opinion. Maybe things will get a little bit better when the PvE content is released. But aside from that, there's not really anything meriting people who have spent a lot of time with Overwatch to go in and play a lot of it right now, unless you're a huge Overwatch fan. I'm mainly just playing it right now because I enjoy playing it with my girlfriend. Syb, before we move on from just this subject, I'm just curious, did you happen to pay attention to any of this? Did you try to play it at all? Probably not, because it's first person, right?
His first person, yeah, and I'm still heavily annoyed at Blizzard, and I have too many game catalog stuff backed up at the moment. Like it's kind of crazy. I am in the it was alpha, now it's beta for Dragonflight. So I can speak to the fact that I think all of the Blizzard teams basically lost the majority of their like heart and soul, brain and logic centers essentially a few years ago, and they have slowly been learning to go up from what they had at a previous point, and are starting to have the capability of learning how to like make good games again, because I honestly believe that they entirely lost that ability somewhere around like 4 or 5 years, about 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. They lost everybody. They lost every single person that had the capability of doing stuff. Now, they didn't all quit. They just stopped being able to have their say at the company. They stopped being able to say, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. This is what my call is here. Instead, you had these pencil pushing, paper. I don't want to insult them too much. You had these idiots behind the scenes going, yes, I think we should do this, and this will be such a good idea. It's like, no, it wasn't a good idea. It was never a good idea. None of this stuff that they've done in the last few years has been a good idea. All of them have been terrible ideas, extremely terrible ideas, and yet somehow, yeah, all of them basically, like, reforged. Well, how did that go? Well, It went about as to be expected. It was an absolute gong show, an absolute travesty of basically everything. And everybody I knew who saw that was exceptionally annoyed by it, exceptionally angered by this concept of like, hey, we're gonna re-release this game gonna promise a whole bunch of stuff and then just flat out not give any of it, period.
Yep.
It's like, oh, that was such a terrible idea on so many levels. Like, how do you even like look your fans in the face with that? You had Diablo Immortal and this direct, straight up lies. Oh, you're not going to be able to pay for power in the form of gear or weapons. Oh yeah, no, it's just the gems that you put in the gear and in the weapons. Mm-hmm. You lying piece of you Wyatt Chang should have resigned in disgrace.
Yep.
For being that lippy, or he should have burnt whoever told him to do that. He should have just come out and said, "Yeah, it was not our intention to do this at all." Then someday so and so called me into his office and said, "Yeah, we're gonna do this. You're gonna do this." I said, "No, I don't think that's a good idea." He's like, "You do this or you're fired." And I'm gonna stand up here today and say that this was an absolute disgrace. We have this has been a horrible thing. Everybody has been harmed because of this, and and I'm angry about it. And that's why I'm breaking my silence and coming forward to say this. I think that would have been the absolute least that he could have done, because what he did essentially was lined up a whole bunch of people, a bunch of kids, a bunch of underage children, and told them, "Oh yeah, don't worry, this game is going to be safe." He told them to their parents. He told them a flat out lie. "Oh yeah, you're not going to be able to pay for power." First, not only can you pay for power in the most ridiculous ways that you normally pay for power, but you can pay for power at the extent that you can blow $100,000 on your account. Oh, and then also they have a new season. They have new season stuff where you can do that again. At least that, again, that's reported. That's what I'm seeing as a state. It's not necessarily guaranteed at this point, but that's what we're seeing. That's horrendous. That's not only horrendous. That's an absolute gong show to such a degree that it's embarrassing. So yeah, that's what they're doing, and I feel very upset about this, and I wish that Blizzard would just get back to making good games, because I grew up on them and I love them, and I love a lot of the stuff about them. But man, have they screwed up royally lately, and I think this is another sign that the Overwatch team they weren't given the ability to do what they needed to do.
Needed or wanted to do.
Needed or wanted to do, yeah. Exactly. And so that's kind of a joke.
Yeah, hopefully, and I never thought I would say this, but hopefully things start to get turned around after the Activision Blizzard buyout by Microsoft is completed. Hopefully the right people, like the right changes, are going to be made so that Blizzard can reattain their legendary status. But it's going to be a near impossible feat, given, like you said, how much they've messed up. And you know that, like, you've messed up pretty badly when the best thing that you've done in the last few years is release Diablo 2. What is it? Resurrected? And even that had its own share of problems. Yeah, so that's where things are at right now. I just figured I would complain about that a little bit. All right, moving on to something much more positive, especially for me, somebody who's a huge fan, in case you didn't know, of the Silent Hill franchise. So, Sab, I don't know if you remember this. There was a Silent Hill movie that was released back in 2006. There are people that enjoy it. I tend to think it's kind of crappy. But, there are aspects of it that I appreciate as a hardcore Silent Hill fan. I think that movie really nailed the aesthetic of Silent Hill. Like, if you were to set out to nail the aesthetic of Silent Hill in live action, that film nailed it. I don't think that should have been the main focus of what you should do with the Silent Hill film, but they did it. And that worked out well. Everything else, not so much, but whatever. The director of that original film, Christoph Gans, has recently been alluding to the fact that he is working on a new Silent Hill film, tentatively titled Return to Silent Hill, I think it is. He recently gave an interview, a really, really interesting interview to a French news outlet. Obviously it was all done in French, but thankfully, a guy named Dusk Golem posted a translation of this interview to Reset Era, and I can verify that the translation is true because I do speak some French, and the translation does match up with what the director is saying. Now, I'm going to list some of the things that he says and why they're of note. So, he says he's working on a new Silent Hill film, and the release of this new film will coincide, according to him, with the release of several new games. Now, this corroborates everything that we've been hearing, all the rumors that there's not just one, but multiple Silent Hill games that are being made. Now, whether or not this is like in line with sort of the core rumors that we've been hearing, that it's Bloober, Annapurna Interactive, and some company under Sony, along with a playable teaser, which will supposedly be releasing soon, I don't know. Christoph Gans does say yes, that Bloober team is working on a Silent Hill 2 remake, but he doesn't really, he sort of responds to it like he's nodding along. I don't know if he's saying that while speaking from a position of knowledge, but he could be. I don't know. Moving on. Another thing that's really, really interesting that he said is that while working on this film, he is simultaneously working with the original creators. And by original creators, he says he's referring to Silent Team. Now, what this made people think is that he's referring to the team behind the original Silent Hill Trilogy and Silent Hill 4. That being a team called Team Silent. The way that he says it, though, the way that he says it in French, and this is based on my knowledge of French, it's not clear to me whether it could be true, but it's not clear to me whether or not he's saying that Konami has recombined the original Team Silent team to work on new Silent Hill games. That's what it seems like he's saying, but there's certain peculiarities with the way that he's speaking to it that doesn't really confirm it for me. But if that's true, that is huge, and it fulfills the dreams of people who are Silent Hill fans, people like me that we've wanted for a long time, to have the original team back working on a new Silent Hill game. A couple other things. He confirms that Hideo Kojima is not involved. But you, Saib, you and I, we knew that forever. Like, going back to the whole Abandon controversy, we knew there was no way that that was ever happening. And then finally, this is probably the most interesting thing to me, but it's something that nobody else seems to be discussing for some reason. When Christoph Gans was talking about what this new film was going to be, this is the translated quote that he offered. Quote, In this second movie, I will try to explain that Silent Hill is a place that owes as much to the creatures that live there as what we project on the town. So I will enter into something way more psychological and way more psychoanalytic in order to try and make people understand that Silent Hill isn't only this strange labyrinth that changes its form, but also the projection of tortured and tormented souls, and sometimes of extremely paradoxical feelings that can be between mad love and violence. Now, what this says to me is that just like the first Silent Hill film was an adaptation of the story of the first Silent Hill game, the movie that he's working on right now might be an adaptation of Silent Hill 2's story. And the key words are mad love and violence, something way more psychological, which was exactly what Silent Hill 2 was. And if he's working on this new film to coincide with the release of new games, it would make complete sense that he's doing this with the release of the Silent Hill 2 remake. Boom. That's my tinfoil hat theory. And if that's true, holy crap, I am so excited. This is going to be awesome. I know it's Konami and like Konami's past, but forgive me. Just let me have this moment. Just let me enjoy the lie for a second. Saib, I'm not entirely sure what your experience with the Silent Hill games are, but based on what I just said, do you have any thoughts? Are you excited at all? Any apprehension? Your general thoughts?
I like the generalized concept of Silent Hill. I did enjoy the movie. There's a lot of imagery when it comes to dreams, when it comes to things. I'm very, very interested in it. I'm, as you know, I'm writing a book series. I am up to, I think I officially passed 2 million words in the series. I'm working
Wow.
on books. I'm well into the latter part of book 6. I plan on getting probably about 10 books out first, like on paper, and have people go over them, check for lore, continuity, that kind of stuff before doubling down on the on the release, because the amount of stuff that I have in it, the amount of it's a mystery thriller for the most part, and there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of characters and events and things that get asked in one book that don't get answered until the latter books officially. There's always breadcrumbs. There's official clues, good clues. There's red herrings. There's all this kind of stuff, and I need to make sure that all makes sense. That I'm not pulling a cheat in the narrative, doing one thing once and then going, oh, actually, it was this all along, and it's like there's no evidence for that. Like, I hate it when writers do that. I hate it when writers assume that all their readers are a bunch of idiots. It's like I dislike that heavily, and I don't want to cheat my fans and cheat my readers, hoping that they are my fans, into believing one thing when actually, it was the other way all along. And it's like I hate it when they do that stuff, because it's just shoddy writing. It really is. It's just shoddy writing when you can't back up stuff. Anyways, long story short, I really liked the Silent Hill stuff. There was a lot of elements in it that I learned from, especially the labyrinth scene, especially the dealing with dreams and nightmares. I do have a lot of like homages in my book, but nothing directly to Silent Hill. So it's not. It was good and it was important, but it wasn't that important. It wasn't that good, so to speak. So as far as myself goes, not saying that it's not good, but yeah, you know what I mean. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I'm hoping this is, but I do have another theory. I think what we're actually seeing might be a new take on it, which will involve aliens.
Like
No, I'm just kidding.
You think they're gonna go with the UFO ending, like they do in the games? That would be dope. That would be bold. It would suck, but it would be bold, and I would give them props for having the balls to do that.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. I think they have a direction that they're going. That's hopefully, again, that artistic people have gotten, that have gotten in there, are going to be able to pull off, and they're going to pull off in a correct and like appropriate fashion. That's what we hope for, at any rate. So yeah, I am excited by this news. This is interesting. This is fascinating. This is very exciting, because this is a thing, just as like, some of the Blizzard games are things that I grew up on. This is what you grew up on, and other fans have grown up on. And I don't think any game deserves, because it's literature, it's story, it's art, and I don't think any of those things should be thrown to the wayside. I really don't like Konami. At the moment, I'm still very angry with them. What they've continued to do, how they've basically kind of come at this idea of like, well, we're just going to screw everybody over, for the most part. And I don't like that. And I wish that they did better. And I think we can hope that without saying, oh yeah, no, you guys, whatever you guys do is just fine. It's like I think we can be better. And I think they can be better.
And that's I'm glad you brought that up, because despite all my despite all my enthusiasm, this is just going based off of rumors. My official stance towards Konami is that they can go die in a fire. But if all of what I'm saying is true, it does seem like they are approaching reviving Silent Hill in a very smart, calculated way. Whether or not that pays off, though, is another story. And if it doesn't, you can bet damn well sure that, like what happened the other week when the Silent Hill reveal wasn't done, people's tires are going to be getting slashed. Okay? All right, moving on to a few other stories. You got to go a little bit faster.
When you joke about that, you really need to speak with one of those mafioso voices, just so people know that you don't actually slash tires for fun.
Right. No, sorry. Yes, I should probably be more careful about that. This is the internet. Of course, I don't actually do that. Come on. Don't slash the okay. I'm just joking. Moving on. More bad news, unfortunately. Well, I don't know. It's more something that you can laugh at. Babylon's Fall. Platinum Games apologized for it, but apparently they didn't really learn their lesson, and they're going to keep making more
live service games, guys.
Yeah, G to the G.
You know what? You know what's great. This is a great idea. Absolutely baller idea right here. We're gonna take a studio that has made some of the most amazing Bayonetta experiences ever, and what we're gonna do with that is we're gonna not make more of those things. Instead, what we're gonna do is we're gonna make more microtransaction-based live services. Because, all of that, what I just said, makes perfect sense. Right? Like this is, you agree, right? Like, yeah. Hey, let's just trash one of the best studios in the world and just make complete and total garbage.
Have I ever told you the definition of insanity?
Yeah.
Sorry. It's repeating the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. Well, I don't know why I went from whatever Voss was from Far Cry 3 into an Italian. I'm sorry for that. I don't do accents. Please continue.
So yeah, again, anybody with a brain could look at this and say, hey, Babylon's Fall, terrible. You really messed up. You really let us down as a community. But hey, I totally understand. Why not make more of it instead of making something that you're actually good at? Like more Bayonetta experiences. And hey, maybe while you're making more Bayonetta games, maybe, here's a thought, bring them to anything other than a single bloody console.
Yes.
There's an idea for you. Bring it to more than one console. If you're having problems with sales, they could have made more money than they were expecting to make if they just dropped Bayonetta on the other consoles, on the other platforms. If they had just done that, oh my God, they would have more money than they would have made with stupid Babylon's Fall. And I lose my mind with this. I don't know who is in these boardrooms telling them, oh yeah, hey, everybody's craving, everybody loves Bayonetta, everybody loves this new thing. Hey, here's a brilliant idea. Why don't we make more of that? Oh, and you can tell that somebody in like is like just like, no, there's no way we could possibly do that. I don't know what you're talking about. That's just crazy talk. Maybe we make more Bayonetta. What the hell is wrong with you? Like, I don't know how to be more insulting with this idea. Let's make more live service instead of more Bayonetta, which is the thing that's oversaturated right now. What's the thing that more people are requesting? What was one of the more recent, masterpiece games that they came out with? Oh, the thing that they're not wanting to do right now.
Scalebound. And then,
hey, we learned all that. We got through all that, and let's do it again. At sometimes you're just like, wow. There's just no point to try to communicate with these absolute idiots that run these companies.
Yeah.
I can't I can't wrap my head around the stupidity that is involved with this stuff. Like, it's just so embarrassing when you really think about it. It's like, and again, it's like, who thought this was a good idea, and who convinced a boardroom full of people that no, this was the thing to do.
Yeah.
You know, Square Enix is like, what, your third blunder in a row in the last like 2 years, major blunder. Like, please just stop. You don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
At this point, please, anybody buy Square Enix out. They don't know what they're doing. They're a bunch of idiots. I can't, like, I don't want to say that, but at this point, it's like, oh, let's make more. Right. Got it. Yeah, because that's going to fix all these current problems. Absolutely pathetic.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking too, because Platinum Games, I don't like all their games, but man, do I recognize that they had or have, I don't know, some of the most talented game developers in the business. These are the guys that saved Metal Gear Rising from absolute failure when it was being operated on by Hideo Kojima's team, and turned it into Revengeance, one of the most beloved games, action games of the last 10 to 15 years, one that has recently resurged in popularity due to how profound it is in terms of gameplay and storytelling. They are also responsible for making what I believe is the most profound game ever made, with Nier Automata. Add onto that games like Bayonetta, and they're legendary. Now, I don't know, maybe it's just because these games don't make the type of money that they want to make, that they feel compelled to make these soulless cash grabs like Babylon's Fall, but either way, like, pursuing that, it's clearly against the ethos of that studio, and I think they would have been better off, with maybe less money. Yeah, anything. Yeah, because it's just, they're not going to be able to produce something worthwhile if their heart isn't into it, clearly, and it wasn't with Babylon's Fall. That's why it turned out the way that it did. I hope one day they will see the error of their ways. They'll go back to making stuff like Scalebound, which looked awesome when it was still being made until it got canceled, or maybe it'll get revived. I don't know, but right now it's looking quite bleak. Now, sort of going along with this trend of just pursuing safe cash grabs, it was announced a few days ago that, well, it wasn't officially announced, but there were a lot of very credible rumors going around on the interwebs suggesting that Horizon Zero Dawn was getting a remaster. This comes from a website that I had never heard of until I read about the story. Maybe you have, Saib, I don't know. MP First, I think is the name of it. They made this claim that it was getting remastered. But then a whole bunch of credible online personalities started saying, yep, this is true. And then adding on top of that, a video game source that I actually do trust, Video Games Chronicle, said, yep, this is true. Now, a lot of people, and I understand why people were outraged about this, because they're tired of really recent games getting the remaster treatment when there's so many other beloved games that could really benefit from having their gameplay or their graphics updated. Some Sony properties that people were memeing about that they would like to see remastered include Siphon Filter, Jak and Daxter, Sly Cooper, and trust me, I'm like the rest of you when I would much rather get remasters of those games than Horizon Zero Dawn, a game that actually still looks really damn good. But nonetheless, we live in an era where a lot of game companies aren't inclined to take risks. They know that Horizon Zero Dawn is a very popular franchise, and so I understand why they're going in that direction, because they feel like it's a safer bet that they will get their money back by doing something like that. Saib, I would much rather see remasters of all those other games. What does one do in a situation like this where we can convince the higher ups that it's more worthwhile going for those older games? I don't know. What do you think?
I don't think that we can, and I don't even think that the gaming community as a whole can. I believe that this is a problem with ego, with corporate insanity, where the corporation believes 100% that they are 100% right to do the thing that they're thinking of, when they have everybody begging them
Not
on
to.
their knees, please don't do this. You're going to kill your company. Please stop. And you have these corporate heads, and I've seen it. I've been in so many companies that have flatlined, that have hit the wall at full speed, and these idiots, these fools, are sitting in the background going, "You don't understand. I have an in-depth understanding of this industry. I know what to do." Like, my God, it's like my dad met somebody, and I learned this at a fairly early age, right after I watched the Mario movie, funny enough, that there was this dude who was just convinced that he knew exactly what to do. And he ended up bankrupting his entire company with a thing that, like, everybody in the world who was in this industry knew you don't do that. Like, it's not a preference thing, it's a science thing, where everybody was like, yeah, no, if you do this, you're going to destroy like everything. So please don't do this. This is not good. This is going to cause a lot of damage. This is going to cause a lot of long-term loss. Please, whatever you're doing, stop, don't, no. And it's like, yeah, no. Somebody's sitting there going, oh no, this is a good idea. It's like, no, it's not a good idea. It never was a good idea. You're insane right now, and you don't even realize it. That's the problem. That's the corporate insanity, that there are some people who just, they think they know everything. I don't know everything, but I know that when you're dealing with an actual reality situation, that it's kind of easy to just figure out what to do. Like, it just makes sense to, like, do the one thing that, fixes the problem, but again, it is what it is. And unfortunately, there's not much that can be done in that regard.
Yeah. I just wish that there would be some degree of faith in the principle that by building a positive community based off of beloved properties, which Sony does have a lot of access to, that by investing in that, maybe they won't be able to get the ideal bottom line right away, but in the long run, it would lead to an overall more positive community, people that are positively receptive to the decisions that Sony makes. And up until recently, they were applauded for a lot of the stuff that they were doing, but based on decisions like their treatment of Japanese developers and their pursuit of just AAA single player games over everything else, it doesn't seem like it seems like despite the reasonableness in pursuing safe bets, ultimately in the long run it's not going to pay off very well for them. Now we'll just end very quickly on this no pun intended, short story that you presented to me in regards to how video games help with short-term memory. Side?
Yeah, it's just another. If you could just link the article in the description, because
Sure.
Whenever I see this, whenever I see something like this, I want people's eyes on it, because I want people to understand why are games important, and to understand the reasoning why games are important. It's not because they're just, it's games, it's for fun, stuff like that. There's so much more depth to it. All mammals, as far as we can tell, have a play circuitry built into them. And if they're not regularly engaging in that, it's not healthy for them. It's not healthy for anybody to go without physical connection or love or respect or anything like that. And in fact, love, you can actually kill children just by not loving them. You can literally, like, their bodies will shut down. The same thing goes with play to a certain extent. And I want, whenever somebody's like, oh, what are you doing wasting your time? It's like, obviously you could play too much, right? Like, obviously you can waste your time and waste your investment in your life, stuff like that. But these things, and including this article, goes to show that playing games is really important. It's important for the young. It's important for people in the middle of their life. It's important for the young children, especially for the young children. More than anything, play and love are two absolutely needed things that if you don't have them, you suffer, and everybody suffers because of that. So this is another article, great article, confirms yet again when you hear dumb people saying, oh, video games cause violence. It's like there's not a single proof shred of evidence anywhere that can showcase that is in any way, shape, or form a reality. Instead, what we have on the opposite, is more and more articles, more and more science, hard science coming out and saying, yes, this actually saves people's lives. And this is actually really important for quality of life. And, that thing is really important. It's really super important that we really get in and cover that as often as we can.
Absolutely. Any psychologist will tell you the importance of play and the development of, the brains of children or anybody, like not just young children, but as you grow up. Why shouldn't that apply to video games? Yeah, more stuff like this needs to be shared around so the stigma surrounding video games can be lessened, especially for the people that tend to perpetuate it. All right, ladies and gentlemen. That was a lot of stories. Probably the longest show that we've ever done, but I had a lot of fun doing it, and it's good to be back doing it. Thank you so much for watching this episode. Make sure to hit the like button, because when you do that, it tells the YouTube algorithm that not only this video is worth watching, but all the other videos on this channel are worth watching. So please do. It's free and easy to do. Make sure to leave a comment if you have any thoughts or opinions on any of the stuff that Syb and I said, or if you had a recommendation for a story that you'd like us to talk about. I want to thank Syb for holding down the fort last week with Ash. And do you want to tell people very quickly about the main channel before we sign off?
Yeah, check out the main channel, the Triple S League on YouTube and a bunch of other places. We're big proponents of the alternate channels and stuff like that, because I think a marketplace of ideas is always a good thing to have.
Absolutely. And you guys can just find me on all the usual forms of social media, just at Max Derrat. I'll put links to my stuff and Syb stuff in the description box below. Thanks, guys. And until we do this again next week, I want to remind you, as always and as per usual, y'all stay yellow.